Hey there, brother and sister. Vessel and Truth here. Jay from Virginia for the new people. Want to do a video, which I really hadn't planned to do. Was just doing some reading and praying, and the Father impressed me about, just did a video on Parable of the 10 Virgins there not too long ago. A few videos back. And I covered quite a bit of it, and it impressed me to just go ahead and bring it the rest of the way home. So we're going to revisit the parable of the 10 virgins, and because people's had time to reread it, look at it, study it, and think upon it for themselves. But I dare say a lot of people probably just looked at it, listened to the video, and went, that's nice, and never give it another thought. And those are the people we want to reach, because we don't want to be the foolish. We want to be the wise. Just because you study Torah, it doesn't mean you're the wise. The Torah is nothing more than the foundation that we build upon. Think about it. Torah, think of it as, your foundation of belief, your obedience. But if you never actually put it into action, what do you have to show for it? The Word tells us, faith without works is dead. We are to be doers of the Word, not just hearers. And there are a lot of things, I've got videos on, and to try and put in a video every minute detail of information that a person can glean from something is impossible, because there's so much that goes with each verse in the Word that there's always different aspects that you can add to it as you learn. But I'm coming across a lot of people that just, oh yeah, wow, I read that, I read this, it was nice, good story, and they leave it at that. They don't never put themselves in it and make it a part of them, to where they overcome the temptations or the distractions or whatever it is that the enemy uses against them. So we're going to go back to Matthew chapter 25, parable of the 10 virgins. And I guess we can go ahead and read through it once and go from there. It says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They which were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. At midnight was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there not be enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him, and to the marriage, and the door was shut. After word came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open up to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. All right. Let's look into this a little bit deeper. Alrighty. I went over several different things in my video, so you should have your notes from that, or I guess you're better than most everybody else and have it memorized. So either way, if you have it memorized, add this to it, or, write it down. Let's take a look at verse 2. It says, and 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. So automatically this tells us that they were divided. But, like I said, you really don't understand exactly what's being said in the New Testament unless you have read the Old Testament. The Old Testament being the scriptures of the day when Christ walked this earth. So, what I see in this 5 and 5, you have 2 separate groups, perfectly even. I can't help but think back in the Torah. There is a tale of 2 mountains, which actually has to do with the same thing. So, if we go to the Old Testament, and it's in Deuteronomy chapter 11. Verse 29. It says, and it shall come to pass when Yahuah thy Elohim hath brought thee in unto the land whither thou goest to possess it, thou shalt put the blessing upon Mount Gerizim and the curse upon Mount Ebal. 2 mountains. Now, let's go to, I think it's 27. 27:12. This is where they carried it out. Deuteronomy 27:12 through 13. It says, these shall stand upon Mount Gerizim to bless the people when ye are come over Jordan. Simeon and Levi. This is basically just describes, which tribes were upon Mount Gerizim. And then on verse 13 it says, and these shall stand upon Mount Ebal to curse. And that would be Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. Okay, so you have the tale of 2 mountains here. You have one mountain representing all the blessings which comes with obedience. And then you have the other mountain which represents all the curses and disobedience and rebellion. Now, it's pretty neat, isn't it? But you have 2 mountains. What's between 2 mountains? A big old fat huge valley. Correct. So you have a mountain of obedience, mountain of disobedience, and in between is a valley. Automatically, that makes me think of Joel. What did Joel say? Joel chapter 3 and verse 14 says, multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near, in the valley of decision. So what is the valley of decision? It's exactly that. From the day you were born, I told you, this life is about a choice. Choose you this day whom you'll serve. So, let's clear up something here. A lot of people that's reading Joel chapter 3 and they come across the valley of decision, they think that it's the valley of Jehoshaphat. Okay, I understand where they get that, because right up here it talks about Jehoshaphat. It says the valley of Jehoshaphat in verse 2. Well, it's all fine and dandy, but if you keep reading, you know that the valley of Jehoshaphat, whenever you actually look it up, Jehoshaphat means Yahuah judges. Okay, so think about this. If you're being judged, it's too late. Your decision had already been made, so now you're being judged on whatever decision you made. So this can't be the valley of Jehoshaphat. I just had to clear that up because, trust me, I will be yelled at about it. Now, obedience or rebelliousness. Multitudes in the valley of decision. From the day you're born, you have to choose to whom you'll follow. My question to you is, have you made your decision? And I understand, people listening to this are saying, come on, Jay, I done made my decision. All right. That's fine and dandy, but I want to just be serious for a minute. Have you really made your decision? I know right now there's people listening, and the Father has brought to mind, told you, or impressed upon you about a matter or a certain something in your life, a situation, a person, or whatever it is. Only you can say what it is. That He has told you to stop or to deal with it or whatever. Whatever it is that He's told you or impressed you, you know about it, but you keep sweeping it under the rug and doing nothing about it. How long do you think the Father is going to continue to impress you or to tell you about this certain temptation or sin or situation or whatever it is before He just lets go? We have to walk in obedience, and for you to keep ignoring what He's impressing you about or telling you to deal with or to change or to stop doing is for you to shake your fist at Him and refuse to be pressed like olives. Because when you press olives, you get oil, which is the next point, which we'll be going to. Have you really made your decision? Are you allowing Him to instruct you and then change whatever He wants you to change? It's not easy. That's why it's being a press. Verse 4 of the parable says, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. You already know that The oil I've told you in my last video about this parable is obedience. True obedience. See, there are many people that they know that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath, but yet they'll declare that they're keeping the Sabbath, but yet they'll do all kinds of stuff that you're not supposed to do, i.e. work. There's a difference between, I know people that try to clean their house and catch up on chores and all this stuff, mow the grass, whatever. That's work, work, work. No, shouldn't be. We should be enjoying everything that we do, not breaking a sweat, taxing ourselves. Nor should we make other people. We are to obey. Matthew chapter 7. And everybody knows these verses. It says, enter in, this is verse 13 and 14. It says, enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in threat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Okay. This verse tells us that there's a huge, wide road that goes to destruction, which is the way of the world. It's disobedience, rebellion. It's all out, total opposite of what the Father commands us. Now, when he talks about the strait gate, it says it's narrow. This word narrow, here in verse 14, some will say difficult, but if you have narrow or difficult, either way, that word actually means to crush, compress, to smash or compress like olives. This is the oil. See, whenever the Father corrects us by His Spirit, He is squeezing and compressing us. And basically what He is squeezing and compressing out of us is us. We are to empty ourselves out so we can be filled with Him. Just like John the Baptist when he said, I must decrease so that He can increase. That is us. We have to decrease so He can increase in us and take over every aspect of our life. Another point I didn't even think about, just popped into my mind. Maybe somebody was thinking about this. I don't know. In Matthew 25, verse 7, it says, then all those virgins arose It's kind of a bad translation, because basically we just read in verse 6 that, and at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Well, it's midnight. Everybody would have been asleep. So basically, what this verse 7 says, then all those virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. This goes right back to the northern kingdom that was divorced from the covenant. You figure there was two kingdoms, the northern and the southern. The northern kingdom was divorced. That's why Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of Israel. Israel was the northern kingdom. They were scattered everywhere and become the nations. So it says, for the virgins that woke up. We have been in exile until 2009, 2010. And then we woke up. And we found out that we've been in the valley of decision. We now learned about mountain of obedience, then the mountain of disobedience. And we're cleaving to the mountain of obedience because we want to be wise. Brothers and sisters, it's all about our choice. I mean, I know people that think all this is a game, that it's all control, that some person, however long ago, formed this whole charade of some invisible man in the sky, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? The word of Yahuah has proved itself true more times than people can count. It actually named different trees and different regions and things that are in different places that we didn't know about until we discovered it. Only to find that the word was correct. Our decision, no matter what you make, the Father will honor. Yes, He loves you and wants you to come to repentance, but if you don't, He'll honor your decision. There's coming a day when He will separate the wheat and the tares. And I want you all to think about it. Any of you who've seen wheat blowing in the fields, notice how the wheat just goes with the wind. Think about that wind being the Spirit of Yahuah. Whichever way it blows, that wheat will bend and toil and bow. Now think about the tares. The tares, they grow up along with the wheat, and they're like real stiff stems. And they're real stern and strong. So when the wind blows, they stand strong, stiff, rebellious, hard-hearted. And they're plucked up and burned. While the wheat is gathered and put in the barn. Brothers and sisters, the Father is calling us to holiness, calling us to Himself. He's calling us to relationship. He's calling us to get serious. He's calling us to be wise and obedient. And there's an urgency. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. And be that as it may, there's always a lot going on in the world. But I'm here to tell you that when the Father starts calling His own back to Himself, the Word tells me what comes next. Because the Father always follows His pattern. And after He calls all back to obedience unto Himself in relationship, judgment falls. All those people who refused to purify themselves will face judgment. And they'll either be purified through judgment, or they'll just be dead and lost. It's not a game. It is the most important decision you'll ever make. And whatever decision you make, stand by it. Don't be wishy-washy. In today, out tomorrow. In today, out tomorrow. No. Be a man or a woman about yourself and stay the course. If you don't want nothing to do with the Father, go the other way. But if you truly want a relationship and receive the free gift of our Creator, choose Him and walk in obedience. He's done made the way. We've already won. All we have to do is do as He says and believe what He says. We're more than conquerors. No weapon formed against us can prosper. We can do all things through Christ. It strengthens us. We don't have to be sick. We do have to die. But we don't have to die sick. Hard times are coming, but the word of Yahuah stands true, because as it says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor seed to beg bread. The prophets were fed by birds. The Father already knows what we have need of before we ask. There are other points I can make in this. And that's really the main point I think the Father wants people to see, is that, yeah, you may have listened to my first video, and yeah, you may have learned quite a bit, but don't leave it at that. There's always more. There's always so much more. It's like most people don't even understand, the Garden of Gethsemane, where Christ was praying, saying, let this cup pass from me. Nobody understands what that cup is. I've got a video on it. That cup was the cup of adultery, the bitter water you read of in Torah. You miss out on so much if you don't read the scriptures from the beginning all the way to the end. And when I say scriptures, I mean all of it. Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees, the Apocrypha, everything that's been ripped out, put it all together. Yes, Josephus, Maccabees, they are historical accounts. But yes, they help, and we do know that they are proven and true. I'm leaving it to this, my brothers and sisters, with the big thing I have wrote on my paper in my note. Have you really made your decision? And if you have, are you one of the people that's sweeping things under the rug? For instance, you know that we're not supposed to eat pork, but yet your wife still makes you ham sandwiches. And rather than have a fight with your wife, you just go ahead and eat your ham sandwich. Or your husband makes you ham or whatever and you eat. Vice versa. So to keep the peace, you go ahead and eat the abomination. You know it's wrong. And if you are sinning to appease another person, you will be judged twice. Once for your sin to yourself. Secondly, for sinning because of that person instead of showing them what they want you to do is wrong and standing up for what's right. It's time we, the children of Yahuah, arise and stand for the truth. You know, in the book of Revelation, it tells us there will be no cowards in the kingdom. So if you don't have backbone enough to stand up to the woman you married or the man you married, you're not fit for the kingdom. That's not me saying it. That's right out of the word. We're supposed to forsake everything for him. He is our all in all. And no matter what he asks us, it's not too hard, nor is it beyond us. He knows what we have to deal with. He knows. I know a couple just right across town from where I live. The man is so out into the world, but she is trying her best to live right. And there's a struggle because she's unequally yoked. And this very principle here, I had to tell her, hey, you've got to stand for what's right, or you're going to be judged for not standing for what's right and allowing him to go on in his sin. If it causes you to part ways, so be it. What is losing a wife or a husband for the Father and salvation and eternal life? I sure as heck don't want to keep a wife or a husband and have eternal damnation. Ain't happening. It's time we truly start seeing things through his eyes. We don't have forever. The word even tells us our life is but a vapor, here for a little while and then gone. And the way things going, there's going to be a whole lot of people disappear shortly. And I'm not talking about a rapture. I'm talking about war. For those who don't know, there's all kinds of YouTube videos of where Russia has already dug thousands of graves. They're moving military equipment everywhere. They deployed all of their navy. You don't spend that kind of money, millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and not do anything. Something is coming, brothers and sisters. And I'm asking you, are you ready? It's just the grace of God that you woke up today and that you had your last heartbeat and your last breath. If you're going to live for the Father, live for Him with your whole being. But if you're not going to live for Him, don't go around trying to fake everyone else out because you want to fit in. Because you're not ever going to fit in with the children of Yahuah if you're not a child of Yahuah. I love each and every one of you, and I pray for each and every one of you. And I'm not being mean to anyone, but I'm not going to water down the truth for nobody or nothing. Truth is the truth. Yes, there are unequally yoked people all over, and yep, it may cost you your marriage. But can you think of a better reason for a divorce? I'm married to a heathen, and now I'm not. But I'm married to the Creator. That's what it's all about. One last thing. Parable of the 10 virgins. It's all about going to a wedding feast. The bridegroom and the bride. It's talking about the marriage supper of the Lamb that you read in Revelation chapter 19. Now has come the marriage supper of the Lamb. Right before, in Revelation chapter 18, we are called out. That is the calling out of the Church of Philadelphia. This is a precursor to a video that I am working on with a buttload of notes on the Church of Philadelphia. I'm going to break it in slow. But all this fits together because the Church of Philadelphia is those who will be protected at the marriage supper of the Lamb while the tribulation transpires. It's all about being protected during the purification process. And for those who think that the tribulation period is for this evil world, you're wrong. Judgment comes for the people of Yahuah that turn their back on Him, to give them one last chance to purify themselves and straighten up and fly right. If they don't, they will be destroyed. More on that in the video ahead, because it's going to be a little long. I'm thinking about just going all in and covering it. Probably be right around 2.5, 3 hours maybe. But I might have a shorter lead up to it. I haven't figured out yet. Still writing out the notes and still covering it in prayer. I just thank you all for being a part. And please, don't just read for reading. Study it. Read you a little bit. See, we think here in the United States, we think the quantity of what we read. I read 12 books yesterday. Well, what'd you learn? That's the main point. It's all about quality. If you only read 3 verses for last week, but yet you put those 3 verses into action, my hat's off to you. And so would the fathers. Let the word change you and squeeze you through your obedience, producing that oil. I'll leave it at that. Until next time, Yahuwah bless you and keep you always. Armor up daily and keep seeking the face of the Father. Yahuwah bless you and Shabbat Shalom.